Like the mind, every question, every doubt fades away. In the quiet, I hear the wisdom say, a world so vast, yet I see so clear. In these moments, there's nothing to fear. The universe whispers, the stars align, guiding me to where my soul should shine. Enlightened moments breaking through. Every shadow fades in the view. With every breath I rise, I grow. In the light of truth I overflow. Through the mist of everyday haze, I'll walk the path that the light now paves. No more confusion, no more disguise. In the dawn of truth I overlies. A world so vast, yet I see so clear. In these moments there's nothing to fear. The universe whispers, the stars align, guiding me to where my soul should shine. Enlightened moments breaking through. Every shadow fades in the view. With every breath I rise, I grow. In the light of truth I overflow. Of insight I stand tall. The light within, the greatest call. No more darkness, no more night. In these moments I find my light. In the glow of insight I stand tall. The light within, the greatest call. No more darkness, no more night. In these moments I find my light. Glimpses of truth through the haze. In the quiet, the light gently sways. Moments flash like sparks in the dark, waking thoughts that had been afar. Whispers of clarity, now they start, igniting the fire within the heart. In every breath, in every sigh, the answers dance before my eyes. Oh, world anew, in every try, I find the truth, no more disguise. Ooh, illuminated, I'm alive. In this light I thrive. Every shadow now subsides. The sun embraces these guiding tides. And in this space I feel grow. A beacon shining, a steady glow. A beacon shining, a steady glow. No longer lost, I now know. The way is clear, the truth will show. The journey ends where it began. In the light I find who I am.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to our Saturday discussion. And thank you so much, Casey, for accepting our invitation to be a special guest for today's discussion. We had you last week, and we barely get through anything at all. So I think it is a great idea to invite you back, since we are still on the first intellectual principle, as many of us know. There are often 2 weeks, two-part to each of the principles that we get to learn from the Certificate in Happiness Study program. So I think it is perfect for the continuing discussion. And once again, welcome to our Saturday discussion. And if you are here for the first time, the reason that we are having the discussion is because when I was in the MA program, when I went through these material, we had to do a lot of homework and we didn't have a platform to discuss these idea in great detail. So after graduation, we thought that it would be a great idea to go back and look at this teaching and actually have a platform to discuss the material. And this is just us exercising the three R's of change, right? Reminder, repetition, and well, I have brain freeze,
Rituals.
but no ritual. Yeah, I know the third one is important for some reason. Like what, where is it? But yeah, reminder, repetition, and ritual, and that will enhance the learning, and that will help us achieve a long-lasting change. And no pressure, right? Because it's just a discussion. I welcome any idea and all idea. I think it's
Well,
important
Ben,
to do that.
this reminds me. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but you reminded me of last week when I was saying I had the three S's in my morning water ritual prayer, and the three S's were surrender, strength, and service. And I couldn't remember service, so I was like, ah. So that was fun.
That's fun.
But you're embodying exactly what Tull teaches. So you're doing the perfect graduate work. You know, like Tull says, when you read a book, you know, read the index first and the chapters and find out where the author is going. Read the book through once without taking notes. Read the book again and take notes, and then talk to somebody about it. And that's how you embody it and learn to make that part of your ongoing working knowledge.
Yep. And yep, really appreciate
Learn, teach. Learn, teach.
Yeah, it will create the upward spiral when we learn and when we teach. So this is where we are. And again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Hugo. I can see it in the chat that you are excited to be here for an interview with Casey. I was too. You know, this is the fourth or fifth time that I got to talk to Casey. He has a wonderful story. And if you have any questions for Casey, feel free to ask. And this is an open discussion. And the reason I invited Casey is because I value his perspective and I value his idea. So I hope that in these discussion I can hear from everyone when it's come to these teaching, because it is great that we get to learn from one another. So the first intellectual being principle, I1, that tell us that curiosity and openness help us make the most of what life has to offer. Powerful when it's come to intellectual well-being, as we have discussed last week, because to me, from my perspective, curiosity is something that we are all born with, right? We have our curious, and because of our curiosity, because of our wanting to know something, it is like a calling for us to learn more about it. And when we combine curiosity with openness, open to new idea, open to new perspective, open to learning, and the combination of the two will help us make the most of what life has to offer. And I think this is a very bold statement, but I believe in it. And I see a lot of value in this, right? Because we are not just living life, we are getting the most of what life has to offer. So, Casey, let's do a quick revisit of what we did last week. And what do you think on curiosity and openness? And,
Definitely. Just to recap, and maybe I'm not sure if everybody else was on, but Hugo. So we got to like 12:3, and so we were talking a lot about learning to fail or fail to learn, and then that goes into the Walt Whitman 12:4 piece, which very much influenced Tull's teaching there, kind of spoke to me in such a way that it ended up informing my journey on choosing to sell everything I own in the United States and going on my nomadic journey. And so in 12:4, Tull talks about, he reviews Walt Whitman's poem, you know how Tull loves poetry, and he reviews the song of the open road. And so there was a lot of great insight there. And it reminded me of how Tull describes his own evolution and how he chose to leave the academic world, the ivory towers of Harvard, in this case, and research world, which is exactly what Walt Whitman and Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, these guys all kind of rebelled against traditional thinking and said, we have to immerse ourselves in nature. We've got to get out, and you can't experience the whole world just by reflecting. You need to have that action. And that's how we get into that upward spiral of reflection followed by action, and they reinforce each other. But as Tull says in the lecture, it's life of just reflection is not whole, and life of just action without reflection is not whole. You need that upward spiral, and so it's beautiful. And I wouldn't mind, if you don't mind, Ben. I wrote a couple of the things that Tull pointed out from the poem, and he literally started the poem with I'm going to read from my notes. Afoot and lighthearted, I take to the open road, healthy, free, the world before me, the long brown path before me, leading wherever I choose. I don't know whether that speaks to other people's souls, but it was screaming to me the first time I went through it with Tull, which was back in spring of 2015. And then, of course, as we were getting to the end of our relationship, my ex-wife and I, when she asked me what I was going to do, and I said, I'm going to turn my life into an art form, and of just exploration. And I kind of slightly tweaked, Ben, what I gave you in my mini bio. I've slightly tweaked that. I say, I'm out in search of celebrating connections, co-creation, and community. So those are I kind of switched my 3 C's a little bit because I'm celebrating all 3. And it's been amazing because there's something later in the poem. There's another thing he said. It's like, henceforth, I ask not good fortune. I myself am good fortune. And when me personally, as part of my journey, when I was mired in that, woe is me, why is this happening to me? Why didn't that happen for me? Blah, 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 kind of falling into this victim mentality of learned hopelessness. And that is not who I am. That is not my spirit. It's not my soul. And yet I found myself going in this downward spiral. And I will give so much credit to Tull. You know, my journey started with Wayne Dyer's 2012 From Ambition to Meaning. And then I found Tull in 2014. And then all of the people that both of those great minds have led me to, all the research, Ben, you mentioned before, the ancient wisdom. I've gone down a lot of rabbit holes, but it's all been enjoyable, and it informs my daily interaction with the world, which is much more mindful now. And I'm not dreading decisions or things that happened in the past. I'm not fearing the future. But like Tull talked about this week, I'm future focused, I am on my passion path to present purpose, which we talked about, and that will be the title of my speech, Hugo, in Mexico City for the HSAX talk. But what that means is, and how Tal explained it in Thursday's happy hour was, okay, what do the goals do for you? Well, it does propel you into the future, but once you take on the Wu Wei mentality, here's some ancient wisdom, the Wu Wei mentality of Taoism is non-striving action. So you're engaged, you're in the game, but you're detached from the outcome, which means you can enjoy the journey. If that all makes sense, hopefully it does. It's so freeing. And then I used to think that I was in the moment with my wife, with my children. And my wife said, no, you weren't. You were always thinking about business. And I said, yeah, but she's like, no. And finally I realized, and I admit it, I take accountability that, it wasn't for bad reasons. I was trying to provide for my family, but I was a scared rabbit. Most of my adult life, I was a scared rabbit. I lived in fight or flight. And it is this reconnection with ancient wisdom informed by progressive modern science that has allowed to free me. So to bring it back to Tal's point from Thursday's happy hour, he said, what gives us the liberty to be mindfully present is that we have these goals that provide us the purpose to propel us forward without the obsession with, yeah, but I have to make this much money by this date or that. And thank goodness I'm at a stage in life where I can live that way a little more freely, certainly than the 40-year-old version of me could have.
Beautiful and so
Hugo,
powerful.
come in.
Yeah, Hugo.
Yes. Hi, I was trying to raise my electronic hand. I'm very pleased to be with all of you. Thank you for the opportunity. I just gonna make a couple of comments to this very interesting conversation. I didn't know about the last week. If not, I would have joined it. So today I received the WhatsApp message, and I said, I'm gonna be there. For me, it's 10 p.m. Okay, just to give you an idea here in Buenos Aires. So it's Saturday night. Who would have thought that the Saturday night I'm gonna be on a screen talking about happiness around the world? Crazy, but here we are. So there is hope. While there is people talking about this at this time, there is hope. So well, 2 or 3 things that make me reflect, as always. Is very nice listening to his thoughts. I'm gonna put my charger. If not, I'm gonna run out of battery. Sorry guys, but if not, my laptop will die. 1 second.
Yep. No worry. Oh, well,
No
why?
laptops were injured in the webinar.
Oh, while we are waiting for Hugo, I
It's like
just
a
want to
disclaimer from Hollywood.
yeah. Well, Jillian is raising her hand. Feel free to share something quickly, and then when Hugo come back, I'm gonna. Okay, actually, I think Hugo is back right now. Let's let Hugo
I am
return
here.
to his
Yes,
point
I
real quick.
didn't.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't want my laptop to run out of battery. So back to Kizzy, very interesting comment. 2 or 3 comes to my mind. And let me tell you that in some passage of his storytelling about his background, I found myself in a mirror. So I can understand his wife comment, because I heard that kind of comment once also. Hey, you are not here. Probably his body or my body was there in more than one occasion, but my mind was somewhere else, probably in business too. So I understand that, running like a rabbit, as he mentioned. But back to his comments, 2 or 3 things come to my mind. one very interesting combination about reflection and action that he mentioned, that interaction, no? The two pieces, the yin, the yang. And that is very clearly, of course, and I agree with that 100% because it's like the mind and body connection. Because the mind goes to reflection and the body goes to action. That's the interaction. And you can got a good balance without a good interaction of both of them. Sometimes you need a little more. I used to say like it's like riding a car. You have the two laces to ride a horse, you know, and sometimes you move one on the other side and the other to the other. But at the end of the game, you have to go, if you want to continue straight, with an appropriate balance between both of them. And also that connect with the initial principle that you mentioned about the curiosity and openness. And it's very interesting because when I agree with that, but I want to talk a little bit about the openness, at least in terms how I think that openness, because I think it should be in two directions or two dimensions. One is the openness that drives our curiosity in terms of be open to new things, to new concepts, to new belief, to new theories, to new action, to new work, to be open, my spirit. But then also is my openness that move again, and now it comes where to the action, because the other is to be open to reflect about new things. Oh, that's interesting, this new concept. Oh, how can I apply? That's a reflection part, but that is the action. My curiosity and openness for me to act. I should open myself, go, drive me to action, because if not, it's concluded. If I only leave it on curiosity, but I don't move myself that necessary step forward, nothing will happen. Oh, I'm curious. What is behind that door? If I don't have the force enough, the push, the power, the willpower in order to open that door, I will never know it. And that's action. So that openness also myself, I have to be open to take that risk, to go into that adventure, to have that to get into that work. And also, of course, for me, when he talk about the future and Whitman, a lot of info is bringing a lot of point to reflect, bring see. But for me, again, the present moment is the one, the connection between the experience, the past, my prospects, my future. But right now, this is the present moment, and I have to be prepared with all of that. So those were my quick reflects on Kelsey's comments and your introduction.
And Ben, if I may comment with that, you know, Hugo, what you just said reminds me of, because I love the whole concept of, you know, it's not the destination, it's the journey, of course. But I like another elevated twist on that. If you're familiar with he called himself a philosopher entertainer, but Alan Watts from the 50s, 60s, 70s. So Alan Watts has a great expression, and it's life is not just a journey, it's a dance. And what you just described, Hugo, is that dance. It's like, yeah, because like Tal says, we don't ruminate on the past, but illuminate from the past, which means light it up, look at what affected you in the past, learn from it, and then leave it there. It's the wake of your boat. Alan Watts also is the one who I think first made that metaphor popular about if you look behind a boat, there's the wake. That's your past. You can never change the wake. You can only change how you let it direct your boat in the future. So I love your perspective. I thought I'd just add that to it.
Absolutely. And you know what? Talking about Watts and all the stuff is very interesting because normally, and here comes again, I'm gonna connect curiosity and openness, because normally we tend to predict the future based on the past. And the past are things that we learn. And that's a very limited future, because the future, if we only see the future through the lenses of the past, will be very limited, because it's limited to our experience, to what we have done. And that is a granite of sand in the universe, what we have done in our life. So the future is much more wide open. So that comes the curiosity, and that comes the openness. The future is unpredictable, and surely is much, much better than what you have done in the past.
It sounds like you are a little familiar with Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
Ben and I,
yeah.
Ben and I were talking about that.
Let me tell you that I've been, I've done one of his experience. I took online one of his courses, and I got into his meditation and all that stuff, and I really got afraid up to the level that I got. That's for another conversation, because yeah, it was incredible. And on last May, I have the chance. I attended a conference in Dallas, and he was a guest speaker I didn't know, and he gave a 2 hours presentation, and that's the first time I met him in person, and it was wow.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that in a minute. I think Ben's going to want to. I think Chiolin has her hand up, and maybe we should hear from her.
Yeah, that was powerful on connecting reflection with curiosity and openness. I love that. And Chilling earlier raised her hand. I don't know if you still want to share Chilling, and then we go to
There's a hand
Victoria.
up.
If not,
Oh.
then I can invite. Chilling is unmute herself. Feel free to start, Chilling.
Thank you. Thank you, Hugo, and thank you, Casey. Thank you for coming again, and thank you, Hugo, for sharing what you have experienced and also have some insight from it. The first raise of my hand is I want to hear the poem again, actually, and and after Hugo's sharing, it just also reminding to me is that what we are estimate our future actually is based on our past, and actually it is a limited experience. For the changing day that's daily or even each moment, they are new. So if I use the limited experience to estimate the future, that could be a way like I'm using a narrow angle to see the future or see to see myself. So thank you very much for that reminding.
Right. Thanks, Chilling. Yeah, very inspiring. And once again, thank you everyone for joining our weekly discussion. I have learned a lot, and I'm so glad that we have this. And thank you so much for your ideas and great perspective. And Victoria, feel free to unmute yourself.
Hello everyone. Hi Ben. Hi Casey. Hi Hugo. Hi Chilin. Hi Jasmine. Hello everyone. It's so exciting about to hear about the topic about intellectual well-being. And then I really love what both Casey and Hugo mentioned about One Whitman, and also about yeah, it's a Sunday morning in Hong Kong now, so that's why it's a little bit noisy and messy at home, because everyone trying to have breakfast together. But I still need my time to discuss with you guys, because it's an exciting topic. So what I would like to share is about curiosity and also about openness and reflection, because normally we tend to be influenced by one of our 5 SPI elements. Some people tend to be very intellectual, so that they focus more on understanding and reading and contemplating things. And some are more prone to action, like it's more they learn not by reading things or contemplating things, but by action, by doing things. So for example, in my home, there's clearly is two tendencies clearly in my home. Like for example, for me, I am more prone to contemplating and reflection. But my husband and my son is always in action. They are always on the move. They love sport. They play a lot. And by the time we get to influence together, and by learning from the SPY element and intellectual well-being principle, I come to realize I need to put action into my life as well, because I've been a contemplating person for such a long time. I love go deep into the concept and try to gain internalize all those concepts. But I think it's not enough. Actually, I have to put something in practice and I need to do some action. That's why this course helped me to bring me some courage to put things in action, which is I write my books. And also I engage in my business, not only just an observer, but I think I need to be an active agent in the revolution, into bringing happiness into myself, into my family, and everyone else. So the first important thing is reflection is not enough. We need to have action as well. And I can't disagree more about this principle. The second thing is curiosity. And last time, I think somebody asked a question, very interesting question about we are so curious. Some people are very curious by nature, but what should we focus? Because nowadays we suffer not the lack of understanding and information, because with the overloaded information we face every day with the media and everything, we have too much information to digest. So what should we focus on is very important. We need to choose some interest only and then focus our depth of our reflection and our action on this area, because that's why one single life, human life, is not enough to cover everything. So, but by only focusing on one area, we can explore another one, and we go to the depth of the. It's just like if we want to eat a fruit, you know, you love the fruit so much that you investigate your whole life, not only to just buy the fruit, but you can grow the fruit yourself in your own way. And that is what I meant by focusing and overcoming our distraction and develop our expertise. That is what I want to share about curiosity, because curiosity is very important. But if we let our curiosity take lead of our life, that we lose all the focus of our life, then the whole life we're wasting in distracting information, and it's not very helpful and productive. That's the second point I would like to share. The third point I would like to share is in terms of our fear to fail. So I love Tan so much in terms of he always remind me and help me to overcome my perfectionist tendency, which is you learn to fail or you fail to learn. It is deeply ingrained in my mind. And for this mantra, I help me to overcome my fear to fail. And I accept, okay, I do something. My book may be a success or it may be complex failure, but I don't care anymore. What I need to say, I need to do something that I really love to do. So that is a mantra that I feel is very useful. And the last thing I would like to share is in terms of Walt Whitman, because I love his poem very, very much. And I feel that what I like in his poem is the way I feel he's a complete free person. He's so free. And it's not only he's a free person, but he's also a transcendental person, which is he can go beyond. His freedom is not limited by our ordinary concern, by what is right, what is wrong. Like all the intellectual, all the philosophy always ask about, oh, my point of view is correct. This is like how lies work and what is lie is. And another one fight him back and say, no, that's not true. And we engage in an infinite fighting of concept to find out who's right and who's wrong. And so that is a tendency in the French education, because they are very intellectual oriented and they fight about the ideas, who's wrong and who's right. And another tendency is the experiment that come from the common law countries such as the UK. They always think, okay, experiment will tell me what is true, what is right. It's not the idea, but it's experience, my experience. And we come back to what Hugo just mentioned is if we base on our future in our experience, in our past experience, what will happen? We are limited ourselves. We are controlled, still limited. We cannot go toward our imagination. But Einstein, he said that imagination is king, is everything. Imagination, the only limit is our imagination. So why we limit ourselves with our past experience, even our scientific approach? Because science doesn't know everything. All right. So for me, I think one good man is a transcendental person because he touched to the suchness, to the reality. Is still in the moment, because at the end of the way, we only live in the present moment. The past is already past. The future is yet to know. So only the present is the truth, the meaning, and the life is there. So that is the 4 main points I will share to about this, but it's an exciting debate. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Victoria. Oh, you just made me think of so many things. I'm very curious too about, you've written more than one book?
Sorry, it's my first book. My first book, I have been dreaming of writing a book for so many years, but I never had the courage because my mind was so distracted. I was not able to focus. But then after doing the certificate of happiness study, I just completed it just a few days ago. Then I say, oh, okay, I was working for half of my years now, or for almost a year now on my book, and then I think I will be able to publish it by the end of the year. So I will have it translated in English and other language as well. So I hope to learn more when I can let people know about my point of view, about my limited experience and very poor knowledge and everything. So the purpose of the book is to help me to be a confident speaker, and also to make more friends and to learn more from the community, because I'm such a very shy person. I even don't know how to express myself correctly because I have so many things to share.
Well done, though. And you're apologizing for only having one book done? I think that's funny. So many people want to write books. But, you know, it's I think some of the wisest words that I've had about writing is, number one, is you have to write the book for yourself first. And my humble goal is, as I'm going out to write my first book, is can I change one person's life? I know I'm going to change my own life by doing it, but you know, so this is the Wu way of not being attached to the outcome. And there's been, are you in the writing club, Victoria?
Yeah,
the HSA?
Yeah, I am in the group. I'm in the group. I'm
Okay,
in all the
great.
group, but I'm not I need to say I'm very shy to say because I'm not very active member. I'm a lazy member, but because my functioning is limited. So if I focus on something, I have to be a little bit not too much involved in other activity. But actually, I'm follow. Steph provide some amazing tips. That's why I attend some of her workshop and sharing, and really it was very interesting and useful. And I think it was one of the motivators that helped me to take courage to write my own book. Yeah.
Good job. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate.
So yes, thank you. And so back to the topic for tonight, you know, it's later in the poem, Tall points out that basically Walt Whitman is saying that certainly by going out and experiencing nature, you're going to have physical and intellectual elements, or you're in your upward spiral. But he also mentions self-esteem. So now you're talking about your ability to have better relationships, A, with yourself, A, with anybody you encounter. Being out in nature, as we know, part of Tall's spiritual element, and that informs us on how we handle our emotions. So it's such a, you know, transcendentalism in general is an amazing field of thought that gets us outside of traditional academic, you know, rote memorization and things like that to experience. And to finish what I was saying earlier about Tal, and he shares this frequently, but you know, like he didn't want to just read about Qigong or read about Lao Tzu or just do those things and read about the Stoics and Socrates and Aristotle and all these great thinkers, the Buddha. He wanted to experience it. So Tal went out, he wanted to immerse himself in Qigong. And he went out and found the best instructor he could and dedicated 6 months of his life to Qigong. And likewise, after he read James Nestor's book, Breath, which ironically, a friend of mine just texted me, "Hey, have you read this book?" And and Tal had said at the time, this was, I think, about 2020, I think about the time when James Nestor's book came out. And Tal said, "This is the most important book of the year." And if Tal makes a statement like that, I take it to heart because he's one of them. I look at Tal as the epitome of the 21st century Renaissance man. He is so deep and well versed in so many subjects, and he goes deep. And I love his philosophy of, you know, don't read the top 30 books on Stoicism. Find the best 3 and then learn from those. Anyway.
Yep.
Who's got something else? Ben's
Wonderful,
coming in.
powerful.
Hey.
Well, first of all, congratulations to Victoria for completing the certificate program. She joined us on October last year, and she recently certified happiness trainer. So congratulations, you are officially a happiness trainer, and I think you will do great. You have your book coming out, so hopefully you will get a lot of talk from all over the places, and I think you are more than capable of doing that. So congratulations, and I love all of the point that everyone made around intellectual well-being. I love the point that you will make about reflection, right? Reflection and action, and how he tied that to curiosity and openness and the mind-body connection. And I think it is very, very sacred, very, very, very powerful. And of course, I would love to discuss more about intellectual well-being, about wisdom, about ancient teaching, how ancient thinker, right? Ancient teacher, they all talk about the same thing. And I feel like there is a lot more to wisdom. There are a lot more to intellectual well-being, which we barely touched the surface of it. At the same time, though, I appreciate what Tao has done for the program because he was able to point out all of the important elements of intellectual well-being and curiosity plus openness. Openness is the 2 elements that stated in the intellectual principle that will help us get the most of what life has to offer. Very, very powerful statement. And in 13.1, we get to introduce about question. And I think this is another very powerful, very important key point that I would love to hear your thought on, Casey, and everybody thought on, because everything starts with a question, right? All of the big lesson or this big discussion in the world, they all start with question. And if we were to look at a question structure, I think there are only 5 or 6 form of questions. There's a why, right? There's a how, there's a what, there's a who, there's a when. I think there's only 5 form of question, but those 5 questions can truly help us explore to the depth of wisdom. And my mentor used to tell me that when you know your why, the how does not matter, right? And I think it is so powerful just in just exploring the two form of the why question and the how question. And I think all of the big idea of the world was able to materialize thanks to just these two questions. So what do you think, Casey? What do you think about question and how that has impacted the world of science?
Well, in fact, it informed the foundation of the formation of positive psychology. When they changed the question from the more negative, focusing on the most dysfunctional people in society, and focusing on asking the question, why are they failing, instead of looking at those who came out of these similar environments of, parents with drug use and alcohol and single family or single parent households and absentee parents and things like that. And it was called the Somerville Studies done in Boston. And when they switched the question to, well, wait, why do these certain kids succeed in spite of all of this? And so that became the growing tips philosophy, and out of that also came stretch goals and things like that. So it's wonderful. So what you just said though, Ben, too, also I wanted to comment on that, because that's a Nietzsche quote, is he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And so what you said your teacher taught you is paraphrasing that, and exactly. And anyone who's not familiar should watch there's a TED Talk with Simon Sinek, Sinek, and he wrote a book called Start With Why. And that's really the evolution of when you're branding yourself, when you're creating a new business, when you're recreating yourself. Ben, as you know, that's what I'm doing. I'm helping people reinvent themselves. And so the first question to ask is, what is your why? What are your passions? What are your values? What are your strengths? And you go from there to define your why. And then you go into your how, and that helps refine that process. And that's how you plot a course to reinvent yourself. So hopefully that helped move that along.
I love that. Yes, Hugo.
Yeah, so regarding this, why, how, when, and where, and just that are the two more common is the why this happens to me, and I think that Casey mentioned before, and I associated immediately just to reframe that question into what for it happens to me, because the why is just to is for me is a negative view of the situation, because you are looking for who's responsible for this that happened to me, why this happened, what I make a mistake, what I have done wrong, why you are trying to find a reason and look backwards. But if you make a question, what for? It doesn't matter why it happened. What for? What's the future? What's the learning from this that happens? How can I improve? So from why, I try to change it. I've been in a couple, let me tell you, Tal always says that we talk about our own experience, and I've been in a couple of tough situations with friends who were going through difficult process, and they were trapped in this question, why this happens to me? And I said to one of them, very close friends, I remember one of the shortest, and I said, reframe it. Don't ask yourself, change your mind, try to start thinking what for. And at that moment, he accepted, but with a face that saying, you are not in my shoes, so it's easy for you to say that. And he didn't understand the real value of that question. So many years later, he came to me and says, remember that night when you make me that comment? I said, yes, I remember very clear. Well, if it was for me, I want to kick you in the face because I feel so bad But then I realized and I learned, and that was powerful. So I want to give you the thanks for that learning. And it was like 2 or 3. So, we all need to have the coin drop in our minds. But regarding all these questions, the why and the what are the ones that I like. So that's input.
I love that. I love how you reframe, as Casey mentioned it in the chat, right? Reframe the why to the what for, to ship it to a more positive perspective. And I am a huge fan for that, because I have a belief. I believe that everything happened for a reason. I believe that the universe is full of love. And
Yeah.
a lot of time, yes,
And for me, it's very clear, those two questions. One is related to the past. I make this assumption now in the present moment, just to see how I want to go to the future. What for? What's coming next? It's very
right.
clear for me, the time.
Right. And well, what I was trying to say is that I believe that the universe is full of love and everything happened for a reason. So instead of focusing on the negativity, like the story that you shared about your friends with, I have been in that situation many times in the past, right? When something horrible happened, we seem to be tunnel vision into that. And we didn't realize that it was an opportunity for us to learn. It was an opportunity for us to grow. Most importantly, it is a lesson to stop us from hurting ourselves even further. Just like how, let's say, parents spanking their children, they didn't do it out of hate, they do it out of love so that the children will be protected in the future to learn the lesson so that they don't get into further harm down the road, right? So I'm a huge fan of that. So thank you for sharing that point of view, Hugo. And all right, I also see Victoria raise her hand. Hugo is still having your hands up. Do you want to add something before we? Oh, this is probably it. I can lower it for you. Yep, there you go. And Victoria, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yes, I agree. Let's come back to the 5 basic one, as because the object of knowledge are so huge. So we sometimes we really want to know, want to certain what we know, how we know, and go to the depth of the object so that we get satisfaction. That is satisfy our intellectual well-being. And for this, I agree that among the 5 questions, like what, who, when, where, how, I think the most important question is why. Because when, as the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, I can never pronounce his name right, so please correct me. So he's famously said that whoever has a why has a how. Because if we know our intention, then we can figure out the solution very easily. So because if we have faith, like Ben mentioned, that the universe is always supporting us. If we have that positivity in our mind, positive attitude, positive perspective, and then we have a strong faith about goodness, about the truth, about that we can always be able to provide for what we need, and we can always have solution for whatever problem that come to our life. Then with that mind, and that with the purpose, intention, that purposeful intention during that investigation phase, we can solve many problems. That is the approach I always apply in my life, since because I for many years I read so many books, I study extensively. I'm a contemplative person, but I never felt satisfied. I never find meaning to my life, solution to my life. I felt so empty because I lost the focus. So suddenly one way I feel so depressed after I gave birth to my son, and I start searching the meaning for my life and searching who I really am and what I'm here for. So from this point of view, and then I engage in my search, in my me search, and then research as well about the meaning of life and my ultimate purpose. What is my purpose here? Then I find it. And when I find it, I feel satisfied. And everything in my life come into our order. It's just like you are able to solve your life puzzle. So in my book, the very first chapter of my book dedicated to talking about life purpose. What is your life purpose? What your perspective? What your tend to is very important. And then we think that we know what we want into life, because at the end of the day, everyone wants the same thing, which is happiness. We agree that happiness is the ultimate currency. Everyone is after happiness, but we have no idea about what happiness is, and especially what is my happiness is. No idea. So that's why one of the main thing, the very first step is not only that we take the proactive approach, an active approach in our searching in what we want to spend all our life for, because our life is so precious. We need to be able to appreciate the full richness, the full value of our human life, so that we come to know what we are going to spend it for. And that is what I put in my first chapter of my book, is the purpose. And I try to give and share some tool and something that I have learned and apply into myself, and to help other people around myself about how to find purpose. And of course, Tan's teaching is wonderful, because when we talk about spiritual well-being, meaning, that is an excellent chapter to start with. So for those who have not or still in search of the meaning, because once we have that meaning, once we have that purpose, everything will come into order. We find our calling, we find our mission, we find who we are, who we really are, and what we can do the best for our life. And our life, I can assure that is no more emptiness. It's full and only fullness and happiness, and that's it. You know it. You know it.
Well said, Victoria. That was great.
And I saw Casey message and Chilling. So I just want to share something real quick, and thank you, Victoria, for sharing about purpose. And I just have a realization that, you know what, question is a very big element of curiosity. And question is almost like a guiding light in our journey. And there was this lesson or this quote that I learned from one of my friends, or well, my friend learned it from someone else, and he said it to me, and I thought it was very profound. He said that everything in this world was created twice, once in our mind and once through action in our physical world. So the exercise, the practices of the mind is a lot more powerful than we think, because everything around us was created in the mind first, and then we see it happening in the real world, like car, electric car, phone, smartphone, all of it. So in a way, intellectual well-being and us going on the journey of curiosity and openness, and by asking questions and by listening to our calling, we are actually shaping the future of our life and humanity itself. And in the chat, Casey mentioned about manifestation through quantum field and ancient mystery. I would love to discuss that further, but Chilling did want to say something, so let's hear Chilling out, and then let's go to what Casey mentioned in the chat. And I would love to learn more from that idea, Casey. Chilling, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Okay. It's the sound okay?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Thank you, Ben. It's great, because with all your sharing, it's also lead me to reflect, and also to review what I've been through and how I think about all this. And when we are talking, there is when we are all talking about the curiosity and also the openness, and it leads me to think about when I was in depressed mode. I don't feel that much. So actually for me is like over going all through all this and review it. It could be a part of like a ability need to cultivate. It's not like a defaultly I should have that. Yeah, it's just a way of reminding myself at the same time for to work on Spire all these different domains, and that helps me to maintain or like us to stay in a status that is I'm freely to open this curiosity and openness at the time I want. And the other part is we are talking about the question that we raised. I don't remember which expert mentioned about this, but it's also a lead for our exploring the world. But the other side is we are also need sometimes we need to uh, be cautious about the question, the way I ask, because if one is in a like a lower mode, like in the what case just mentioned is I'm spiraling down in that period of time. If I keep on asking the question about why, it gonna drag people down worse. So it's a skill that I practice very often to shift the question to why, to how, or and then it to what I can do. Start from what I can do at the moment. And that is another part of Tao helps me a lot for like he's sharing that about depressed status. If you feel depressed, that is the sadness without the hope or something. And he's also suggests that if you are in that mode, just go out and help others. And actually I'm my the recent 15 years of life, actually I help a lot of people. I do NPO projects and I do helps a lot, but I still find that in deep sorrow, and it goes to depress. And so when I was depressed, I have difficulty on helping others, because I'm like helping me as the other, I have to help myself. So that's also compassion, and also mindfulness helps me at the same time to notice how my status is. And it's also I'm okay to be with it, even though I'm in the lower status. It could be this body needs some kind of rest or whatever it needs, so it could be a part of it. So I'm just also curious about how Hugo, Casey, or Victoria, from your sharing, or even Ben, I would like to hear from you. Is because there are times that we are struggling with several things that are stressful, and how you dig yourself away from the hard time. What are the question, or what are the ways that you talk to yourself?
I would like to respond to that, but in case you wanted to respond to your
Go
question
ahead,
as
Ben.
well. So
Go ahead, Ben.
yeah. Yes. Well, thank for the question, Shirley. And what I have learned is the this one technique about letting go. You know, when we get into depression or sorrow, then it's best to just let go of that rather than focusing on it. And the story that I would like to use to illustrate the importance of letting go is, you know, how like I watched this video on YouTube yeah, years ago. It was very interesting. And the title said like how to catch a monkey. And in that video, I don't know if there was a scientist in Africa or some tribe in Africa, but the way that they catch the local monkey for their research is that they dig a hole in under the ground and they put a banana or some kind of fruit like in that hole. But when the monkey can reach in, right? The opening is very small, so the monkey can reach in. But when they try to grab the food, then their hand would make a fist, so it can no longer he couldn't get the hand out. So the way that they catching the monkey is very simple, waiting for the monkey to get near the little opening, grab the food, and they would just walk up to the monkey and grab it because the monkey wouldn't let go of the fruit, and the monkey get caught. So that story remind me a lot about the problem or the issue or depression that people are getting, and even like other stuff too, right? Because we are so laser focused into the problem, without learning to let go, then we kind of unable to move on to something better. Like in the case of the monkey, all he has to do is to just let go of that desire, and he could have run away, but he couldn't let go of the desire of that fruit, and then he got caught. So in a way, what I have learned in my life is that we need to learn how to let go. It might look impossible at first, but if we can use technique like meditation, breathing exercise, giving us some space to let go of that focus, right? Zoom out instead of zooming in, then we will be able to move on to something better. And that is very much related to 13.0 question, right? Instead of asking negative question, instead of focusing on negativity, we should ask ourselves a simple question like, well, what wells? In this slide here, right? Focusing on what wells, asking the question, what makes some individuals succeed despite unfavorable circumstances. So focus on what works, focus on positivity. But first, we need to let go. We need to distance ourselves from negativity first. And we will find great result on that. So back to you, Casey.
Okay. Well, Hugo, go ahead. I've got some stuff I want to say, but go ahead, Hugo.
No, just a simple, very brief comment on the story that Ben have shared with us about the monkey and grabbing the banana. I used a lot that example, and the parable that is behind that experiment is that the man is prisoner of the things that goes grabbing in his life, of the asset. So because you got the banana, but you are prisoner, you don't have it. You can get the banana because you can take the hand out of there. So you are prisoner of that. It's just to reflect on that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Hugo.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're the prisoner of our wants and desires, right? So on the eightfold path to enlightenment, are we not talking about letting go of our desires helps us get over suffering? That's one path. A book that I think of, I may have mentioned it on this talk last week, or it might have been a different conversation Ben and I were having, but the book title is called Lost Connections. And it was written by Johan Hari, who's a journalist from the UK, lives in the States now. But he had been put on antidepressants from the age of 18 until he was frustrated at the age of 31. Why wasn't it improving? Why this? Why was that? The beautiful thing about the book is inevitably or ultimately, his conclusion walked him into the realization that everything we've learned, not everything we've learned, but a lot of what we've learned in positive psychology and the study of happiness is so nest. I wrote in the chat, Chielin, the first thing I think of is nest, nourishment, exercise, getting your sleep and recovery and touch, having human interaction or pets. I mean, I'm kind of alone where I'm at right now. but I have 2 dogs here that love me and I get to hug them every day. And it's wonderful. But it is a matter of going inward before you go outward. But if you're taking care of yourself in all the best ways that you possibly can, and that doesn't help, definitely at that stage of the game, I would always suggest to someone, seek professional therapy. And but the next thing to that is, okay, well, if ultimately, again, Johann Hari's conclusion was after he traveled the world, he watched how drugs, antidepressants were approved, and ultimately the best of the best performing antidepressant were 2 percentage points at best better than placebo effect. So in other words, I have people in my life that have benefited short term from antidepressants. I really believe that long term, that's not the solution, and that we have to figure out ways to take care of ourselves, and we have to keep doing the me search of what's going to make, and it could be finding your community and your purpose and having a better relationship with yourself. All those 3 things there are the biggest 3, as we know from research and from our studies with Tal, that are indicators of our own personal well-being. So, and for me personally, it's what can I change? Like, what am I doing that I need to change? Because when I feel out of sync with what I think of as my new direction, my North Star, my following my soul's journey of purpose, is I'm off course. How do I change my track to get back on course? And usually there's an answer that comes to me, but it didn't come easy. I've been doing this work for 10 hard years, and I wouldn't sit here and tell anyone I have it all figured out. But I'm a lot better equipped at this stage of the game. So I'm going to take a little slight tangential detour because Ben had asked for ancient wisdom. So if you believe that everything in the universe, that if you believe in the abundance of the universe, that everything that's manifested in our 3D reality came from, as I think Hugo said in the talk, where did those thoughts come from? Exactly. It's energy from the universe. One of my favorite people to quote is Wayne Dyer, who was a psychologist and self-help guru from the late 70s, and then he passed recently. But he wrote something like 43 books, of which I think a majority were New York Times bestsellers. And he said, it took me a long time, but I finally realized I wasn't writing the books. These books were being channeled through him by source, by him opening up, by suppressing his ego, getting it out of the way. Wayne Dyer was a man with he came into this world with a very large ego. He was a very confident man, and rightfully so, a brilliant man. He was very good at assimilating a lot of great thinkers' thoughts into a new movement, a new powerful way to express how we can make our lives better and the people around us, their lives better. So again, I found a lot of this in 2012, and then found Tal, and I realized, holy smokes, it's all interrelated. And so, if you believe in the energy of the universe, that everything that's manifested in this reality is a divine energy shift. It comes through us and the different people. And Victoria, you mentioned this earlier. Everybody has these different. I'll use the Gardner's different levels of intelligence, or different types of intelligences. The 9 different types of intelligences. And to me, it's like, as I'm walking through this world and I'm in these strange different places, in small towns and big cities, but in cultures that I'm not familiar with, and I remind myself to say thank you for showing up to work. Thank you for you guys for being normal and holding society together, because I'm just this radical element of just a drifting whatever project in the works, we'll call it. I'll refer to myself. But when you believe that, and what Joe Dispenza, since we mentioned him earlier, said that caught my attention today, he said, when you're having a doubt that abundance, and whether you call it the law of attraction and all these things, but it goes back to that, thought that I wrote in the chat about manifesting. It's if we think negative thoughts that our mind from yesterday, our subconscious from yesterday, and we keep telling it, oh my God, why did this happen to me? Why is that happening? That person did this to me, and whatever. My partner cheated on me. My ex-partner cheated on me. Whatever it is, and all those things that make us get caught in this rut of negative thinking. Well, our subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and thoughts. And so it just thinks this is reality. Oh, well, you like negative thinking? I'll give you more negative stuff. And then you attract it because you're fearing it, and somehow you attract it. So once we get to a more positive state of mind, and even when things aren't going as well as they are, never forget Tull's teachings, the best may not always happen, but we could choose to make the best of what does happen. And then, Chio, going back to the question that you asked yourself, why is this happening for me? If your natural state and desire is to be a happier, more productive person with a purpose, and you just don't give up, have the tenacity, the grit, the resilience to keep reframing. Well, okay, why did that happen to me? Oh, it showed me this lesson. So I was down here, but I learned this lesson and I got to rise up from it. Hopefully that all kind of makes sense. So now I'll get back to the ancient wisdom part, Ben, which is, so Bruce Lipton, who's a brilliant cellular biologist, University of Wisconsin, Stanford, and now he's on the Woo circuit. And because he got to this point where he said, I think this is a critical time in humanity, that we have to accept that we need to change we have to have a major shift in collective consciousness to create a new reality, because the old systems are failing us. And what we have to do is channel this new energy. Well, it's not a new energy, it's always been there, but our new perceptions of it and how it can work for us. That also Joe Dispenza's work. Well, recently, Bruce Lipton compared quantum physics to, he leveraged quantum physics to prove the 7 Hermetic principles from ancient Egypt mystery school. And I wrote in the chat, 3 of them are that the universe is all mentalism. And basically what that means is it's all thought. And as Hugo alluded to, where do those thoughts come from? And it comes from the energy of the universe. And we all resonate. We're all just a bunch of energy. And what Joe Dispenza teaches, again, from ancient to present, to me, I said it last week, progressive science is beautiful. And it brings the community together. You talk about spiritualism and religion, and you're kind of going to split a room up. But if you bring in science, it creates a community and people can rally around it. But science isn't discovering new things. Science is revealing ancient wisdom, universal truths and axioms that have always been there. We're just discovering them. And we're learning how to leverage them, as Tull likes to use that analogy. How are you going to leverage this on your behavior to create your own whole well-being, whole being, and as well as those around you, your community, your family, etc. And so the other elements in principle, there's 7 of them, and I could pull them up, but I don't need to right now. But another one is that the universe is all vibration. And I can tell you from my deep meditation and some of the journeys I've taken with sacred ceremony, is there is a resonance. And I got brought back into music. I play the djembe drum now. You've seen me with my rattle and all these things. It's just, I there's energy that's always happening around us, and it's happening in us and through us. And it's a matter of figuring out how do we use that to manifest a better world for ourselves and for our families and our communities. And so that gets to the cause and effect, which is a third of the 7. And the cause and effect, it's really simple math now. If we think negative, we attract negative. And if we think positive, we attract positive. It's pretty simple math these days. But I'll let people talk about that.
Mhm. Yes, I feel like we're gonna need another week or two on this topic. We're on intellectual well-being. So if you are available, Casey, I would love to continue this conversation. And I love your idea on the quantum and the energy. And I would like to connect that to chilling question regarding depression, because my theory is, right, and this is, I really believe in this. My theory on intellectual well-being and wisdom is that deep inside we have this desire to learn, the desire to connect to source, as Casey mentioned earlier. And this is happening as a very, very deep level. And relating that to chilling question about depression, chilling, you are not alone. Almost everyone that I have talked to have experienced depression, even successful people, even millionaire, even billionaire. I have heard of story of those who had accomplished everything, anything that you can think of. They have to sign themselves into rehab institution that would spend hundreds of millions, hundreds of thousands to even millions of dollars to get help. And when they get in there, they found all the people, all the powerful and wealthy people that had to be there, right? So depression is a real thing, but my theory on it is that deep down we have this desire to connect to soul. We have the desire to know. We have this desire to remember the ancient wisdom that we all have somewhere deep inside of us. And those who are not fulfilling these important desire often feel like they are missing something out, but they just can't wrap their head around it. It's like there's something very, very important, extremely important to do, but they simply not doing it. And I myself have experienced that before too, chasing that money, chasing that degree, chasing success, keep chasing material thing. And then one day I realized that, you know what, there's something even greater than that. I no longer rely on my 5 senses, right? I started to have vision, started to have understanding, and started to have great connection to ancient teaching, as Casey mentioning. And I look back to ancient teaching like the Buddha, even the Bible, even Lao Tzu, and I think it's go even further than that. So we are so blessed to have the opportunity to learn about happiness study, where we're connecting with each other and we are exploring this. And I loved our idea of how he keeps saying that we are all still the journey. He has even said that he is a student too. And this is the journey that can give us a fulfilled and happy life. And this is why everyone is here, right? Including myself. This is why you're here at Healing. It's Sunday morning, but you are here with us because deep down, you know how important it is to be here, to be on this journey. While other people, they might choose to have a party or go to a picnic or something, but we are all here because we know how important it is to connect to soul, connect to a higher meaning. And I feel like we're gonna make a couple of more sessions to explore this, as Casey started to mention about source and quantum and all of that. So what do you think, Casey? will you be available for the next couple of session and maybe we explore this even further?
I will happily be here, Ben. Thank you for creating this platform. And I hope we keep, building, because it feels like we get a couple more each week, and that'll be awesome to keep building this. Yes.
Right. Thank you. And this is a discussion, so we don't have to be like Tao, because I know Tao there's certain topic that he avoid because he's like, more toward like academy and research and science based. But for us, we are a student and we are the observer. And I think it is okay to explore all the possibility. And my favorite topic is intellectual well-being, wisdom, and namely ancient wisdom, as Casey mentioned, because it's all interconnected. All ancient teaching point toward the same thing. And this can be very godly. It can be very godlike. It's go even beyond religion. And I think it is important to talk about it. So let's talk about
exactly.
it.
you think a lot of things like whether the Tao Te Ching and or Brian Walker's Hua Hu Ching, which are attributed to Lao Tzu, and they don't even know it was Lao Tzu, one individual or a collection of several great thinkers from his era. But that's only because we've only had the written word for, say, 3,000 to 4,000 years, I think. So what happened to the other 10,000 plus 15,000? It was through stories. It was through stories. And there was just a deeper connection with the whole universal realm and how man came to earth. And there's so many deep philosophies and thinking on it. But I'm working on a collection of, I think I mentioned this at one of our talks, Ben, I'm not sure, but Aldous Huxley, back in the probably late 40s, 50s, wrote a book called The Perennial Philosophy. And he collected some of the common themes from different religions and philosophies. And there are common themes. And it's kind of from those he picked. But I think there's another level. It's the common themes plus some unique attributes that make the whole common a little more interesting. And so that's kind of one of the deep dives I'm taking.
Oh, thank you, Casey. And again, I do want to keep this within 90 minutes. That way everyone can plan for it. And we're going to have many sessions. But I would like to end this before I play a song as we are exiting this discussion. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. This is wonderful. I
Thanks,
appreciate
everybody.
that a lot. But in order to relate it, intellectual well-being to ancient wisdom and us as fellow journeyer, as well as chilling question regarding depression, I just wanted to say that we are very godlike, and this has been recorded in ancient teaching like the Bible, the teaching of the Buddha, and more. Right? In the Bible, it said that God has made us in his image. He even breathed into us. So a part of us is very godlike. If not ourselves, is very godlike. In the Buddha teaching, there are the Buddha nature. In our DNA, there even theory of how our DNA was modified by the creator, and that's go back. Nobody know how long it was. The pyramid, for example, like how did we build it or who built it? We don't know, but definitely there was advanced civilization. There was intelligence that go beyond the recorded writing and chilling. I really believe in my theory that we all have that desire of knowing, that desire to connect to source, connect to who we are that we might have forgotten. And I guess I want to say congratulations to you that somehow you found your way here. Somehow we are able to be our fellow journeyer, walk on this journey together. So you are already on the path to happiness. You're already on the path to learn more about yourself, and you are not alone. And it is okay to have those feelings. Just know that you are on a path of getting better, and you are more godlike than you think you are. And with that, I would like to share the song The Thinker, because whatever we think will create reality and it will shape reality. And happy holiday, everyone, if you are in the US, and happy weekend.
Bye. Thank you very much. Great
In
pleasure.
the silence where the world fades away, thoughts take flight where the shadows play. In a dance of reason, a mind serenade, finding answers in the still cascade. Eyes closed tight in the deep of the night, lost in the maze of a quiet delight. With every turn another question revealed, in the heart of thought where the mind is healed. Let the thoughts flow, let them rise. In the quiet storm the truth lies. In the thinker's gaze the world aligns. In every thought a world refined. Whisper wisdom in the silent air, answers hidden in the thinker's stare. In the quiet where the soul finds peace, the endless quest will never cease. Every question leads to deeper roads. In the thinker's mind where wisdom grows. With every answer a new dawn breaks. In the quiet night a new path takes. Let the thoughts flow, let them rise. In the quiet storm the truth lies. In the thinker's gaze the world aligns. In every thought a world refined. Let the thoughts flow, let them rise. In the quiet storm the truth lies. In the thinker's gaze the world aligns. In every thought a world refined. In the silence where the world fades away, thoughts take flight where the shadows play. In a dance of reason, a mind serenade, finding answers in the still cascade.